What is going on, guys? Welcome to the first episode of our podcast. We are so excited. My name is Bethany and
I am Christopher
Jones. We know, super original, we're famous. We're famous.
Yeah,
that was great. Anyways, so we also have a 1.5-year-old daughter, and she is beautiful, fun, wild, crazy.
super crazy.
And we thought a great way to start off the first episode is to talk about things we have learned in our first year of parenting. Because if you're a parent, you know, there's a lot that you learn. If you're not a parent, then
You're about to know.
take some freaking notes. But I thought first I would just start off with sharing a Bible verse, Psalm 124, 3-4. Children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from him. Children born to a young man are like arrows in a warrior's hands. And we personally are believers, and that is something that we strongly believe in, and we always want to treat Halston with Christ's love and just be that light to her. And so one of the biggest things that I would love everyone to just kind of take away from the podcast today is that children are truly a blessing from the Lord. They aren't a burden. They aren't a headache. And I feel like nowadays that is just something that has become so common. Like, children are an inconvenience in our lives instead of a blessing that the Lord kind of adds into our lives, and they get to become part of our rhythm.
Yeah, I think that one thing that we'll kind of start from the beginning, I think that would be nice to give kind of like a timeline. But I think one thing that I've learned over the whole year of being a parent so far is to not expect things to be so perfect, and to not expect things to always go the way you want them to, and to kind of hold things with an open hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also helps manage expectations, and it allows you to parent with a little bit more grace and a little bit more, I feel like, in a way that Christ would approve of more than if you have a plan, this is how it's going to go, your day's going to look like this, your year's going to look like this. I think it also gives, in our case, our daughter more room to be a kid, rather than us putting so much pressure on her to act a certain way and to kind of perform in a way how we think that she should perform, I think.
Yeah, that's so true. And I feel like stress is such a big thing that I personally wasn't expecting until she was literally out of my womb, and the stress wave just like smacked me in the face. And I was like, I'm telling you, like, from the moment I had her, it was like my whole mindset just shifted, and stress just like sat over me like a cloud. And to this day, a year and a half into parenting, I feel like I'm still trying to navigate like how to understand what I'm feeling and how to handle it best, and to not put that onto her, because that's something that I feel so strongly about. It's not like the child trying to like irritate you or change the plans for the day or skip a nap on purpose, you know, like they're just a child and they're just trying to grow and learn. And so I just want to like be mindful of that and be kind and gentle with her, and try to just manage that like on my own with the Lord and with you, and just like mature with her, but in a different way.
Yeah, but I feel like it's also difficult because I'm trying to gauge, you know, I want to be the type of parent that gives her space. I want to be the type of parent that allows her to be uniquely her, and I don't want to put too much pressure on her, like I was saying before. But I also feel like now that she's a year and a half and she is starting to understand intent and starting to understand words and phrases, and now we have kind of like a routine, I'm having trouble with guiding how I want her, or how I think that she should be responding, because like I said to you a couple of days ago or yesterday or whenever it was, like when she was responding certain ways to me, I felt like she was manipulating me. Like I felt like I was being manipulated, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. So it's kind of like, you know, when I feel that, it's like, at what point do I have to correct her to correct that behavior, and or should that be corrected, and like trying to figure out like where is she mentally in her development. But that's all stuff that we can, I guess, talk about. That's too deep.
You're just
Way
digging
too
a
deep.
hole. That
I
is so
know.
deep for the first episode. That's in itself is an episode. I feel like so many of
Early
these
childhood
things.
development.
Oh my gosh. But for
Let's
real,
not get
like
into that.
so many of the things that like we're listing could be talked about for like an hour straight if we really wanted to.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we can always cover those another time. But I do think they were good points. And that also just brings up parenting guilt, because I feel like it's just so easy in that first year to just question every single move that you make, even though like being a mom and a dad is just instinct, it's inside of us. Like it's still easy to be like, well, like I saw this person on Instagram feeds their baby this kind of formula, or this mom sleep trained and this one didn't, and like trying to compare yourself and see like who's doing it best, and feeling bad like you're not doing the best for your kid.
Yeah.
And I honestly am like really proud of us though, because I feel like we have really like fought against that, and we haven't fallen into that pit of comparison. So I just wanted to encourage anybody that does feel like they're falling into comparison to just kind of step back and realize like you're the best parent for your child, and like it's your child. It's not Sally's child on Instagram, like who's sleep training her kid. Like, you know, like you got to do what's best for you. And I just always go back and remember like that even if you have a hard day, or I feel like I messed something up with Halston, I always go back to the Bible verse that's talking about because of God's faithful love for us, there's new mercy every single morning. So I know that sometimes I shoot you a text and I'm like, I'm a bad mom. Like I lost it today.
At least
like,
once a week.
At least once a week right now. We're in that toddler phase now, but it's so easy to just feel like, oh, I said one wrong thing, or, oh, I forgot this today. Like, I'm a bad mom. But we're just always trying to like stop that and be like, no, like, I'm a great parent. Like, you're a great parent. We might have had a rough hiccup, but we're learning just like our kid is learning. Like, we're all in this process together. I mean, first kids, they're the, what do you say? The trial run? If that's what we'll call them.
And just to put it all into perspective too, like if you have a really hard day, or if you're feeling like a bad mom or a bad dad, to put it into perspective and say like, you know, how important is this moment really?
Yeah.
You know, like how much of an impact is this really going to have? Like if she's having a hard time falling asleep, or if we're having a really hard day, to be able to take like a 20,000 foot view and look down on this moment and be like, you know, in a week, you know, is this really a big deal? Is this really going to matter? Yeah. Probably not. Like maybe it's a big enough moment to where it's going to be something that you can remember. But you know, if it is, it's just something that you can learn from. But the likelihood that it's as big of a deal as you're making it in that moment, it's probably not.
Yeah, to kind of follow up on that, we actually have a really good story for you guys.
I don't know this story.
After we came back from the hospital, when you breastfeed and after you give birth, your body does some wild things in those first few days. And no one truly can prepare you for what happens. And I think it was the first night that we were in our own home, and I got this horrible fever in the middle of the night, and I literally could not move my body. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Could not move. I was sobbing, and I was like, Christopher, I think you need to heat Halston up some of my milk and just give it to her through a bottle. I don't think I can nurse her right now. And I was like, but just, what did I say? I was something like, but just get it ready. Like, I made sure that I said that. And he was like, okay. And he leaves. And here I am like zoned out,
I don't think you
right?
said that. I still don't think you said that.
Okay. And
yeah.
then, so anyways, do you want to finish it, or you want me to?
Yeah. So basically I had come out and I heated up the bottle, which was the first time I had ever done that. And I sat on the couch and I gave her the bottle, and which she loved, by the way. So, and I felt like a very accomplished dad because it was, you know, the first time that I was feeding the baby. And Bethany comes storming out, literally like yelling at me,
Still
screaming
have
at me.
no, I had a
Let's say
fever
yelling. I don't know
still.
about screaming,
No.
but
Okay, but you can kind of call it yelling and screaming because I had that look of terror in my
no,
eyes.
I had the look of terror. You had the look of anger.
Okay, I had the look of anger in my eyes. So like I
Which
was going to
terrified me.
explode, but I did not yell. Don't be going and telling lies.
She yelled. She did. She did do that. Basically, she lost her absolute mind and was so mad at me that I gave her a bottle because I had misunderstood what she had said, and which is a great example of taking a large view. She literally thought the baby
Yeah.
would never breastfeed ever again.
Yeah, I was like, I just
It
wanted
was
you
like,
to prepare it in case I couldn't, but I like decided I was going to.
yeah, it was the end of parenthood for her.
Yeah, I genuinely thought I messed my child up and I could never go back.
Yeah. She
So-
did go back very easily, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a great example for you. But Halston will never remember that moment till we tell her the story, or she listens to this podcast. So it's okay. But I mean, yeah, that's another thing. Like tiredness just kind of brings this other side out in you. And let me tell you, there's nothing like a good nap after you have your baby. I cannot tell you, I would literally, the minute my head touched that pillow, it was like blackness until I woke up. I didn't dream, nothing. I was just out for good. And it was the best feeling ever. I do miss that a little bit. I'll be happy when that comes back. It was a good nap.
Yeah, and I was, I was going to school at the time. I was working full time at the hospital, and I was going to school as present as I maybe would like to for vascular sonography. And so I wasn't ever really, I was around, especially on the weekends, but I was never, and we got married and when did we get pregnant? How many months after?
7.
7 months. So we got pregnant 7 months after we got married, and we got married how many months after we met each other?
11.
11 months. Yeah.
7-Eleven. Let's go get some Slurpees.
She's got all the dates. Slurpees also was her favorite when she was
funny.
pregnant. So we got lots of Slurpees. But I wasn't, and I feel like we weren't necessarily ready. Like when I look back, I think that like we weren't ready because I was going to school. We were paying a lot of money for school every single month.
We were crazy.
Yeah, we didn't take any sort of loan out on school, so we were paying it as is, and it was an expensive school. It wasn't a great school, but it's still expensive.
Hey, it's still a degree. That's what counts, guys.
But I feel like it's not a very popular opinion, I don't think, but I don't necessarily think that you always have to wait until you're ready to do something. Like you said earlier, no one could prepare you for the way that you feel after you have a baby. No one can prepare you for actually having a baby, or, you can never be prepared. And I feel like if you always wait till you're prepared to do something, you're never ever going to do it. So, we said that let's have a baby, let's get pregnant. She was working from home, and it was something that we both grew up in families where my parents had kids young and really close together. There's 4 of us, and we're like a year and a half apart each. With her family, it was kind of the same thing. Her parents had kids when she was really young. And so that was something that we always wanted, but we weren't necessarily ready for, but we kind of jumped in head first because we believed that when the moment came, we would step up to the plate. I think that's more what it's about. It's not about always being ready for something when you step into it. It's about being able to match what you're stepping into and believing that when the situation arises that you will reach the challenge that's set before you. And I know that obviously there are circumstances that arise where you're right, like maybe it's not the best time, or maybe your relationship shouldn't be able or can't handle it, or maybe you literally like are in such a bad financial situation where you need to, maybe rethink it. And I know that there are different situations that maybe it's not best, but I think that for us, we weren't necessarily ready. And I hear a lot of people say that they're not ready, but the likelihood that you're gonna feel 100% ready for everything that you step into, it's probably not realistic. And you need to be always stretching yourself and always growing. So you need to always be like in a situation to where you can grow. And if you're not going to grow. And that's just with anything, including parenting, I think.
That's a word.
That was a
That's
long
word.
ramble. Sorry.
That was good. Preaching it, preaching it. But yeah, and I think that we also like, we didn't just like randomly say, let's have a baby, and we had a baby. Like there was a lot of prayer, and I remember going to a mentor of mine and really like thinking through it, because like ultimately, if like you feel like the Lord's telling you to do something, He's going to provide. Like He has provided financially for us, because babies are very expensive. We are still paying the
Yeah.
bills off.
We just
That
finished
is
actually.
a
We
whole nother
finished.
story.
But we also like procrastinated those bills a long time.
Yeah, but babies are expensive,
They
you
are
know?
expensive.
And like, but just also knowing like we didn't know what we were doing and we were underprepared, but like God had mercy on us and He has taught us and He has grown us. And I really don't think that we would have experienced so much growth if we hadn't had Halston when we did. So I really am thankful for that, which kind of leads into like, I would say probably at least my last point is just the joy that a child brings into your life. It's another thing that is really unexplainable until you have your own kid, I think. It's one thing to kind of like love your nieces and nephews and your little cousins or just like your best friend's baby, but to like have your own that you literally made and that looks at least kind of like you. She looks mostly like Christopher, but that's okay. Like, hey guys, I got more tries. Anyways, but just to like be able to see like what you made and to just watch their personality grow even day by day in those early months is just like so amazing and such a blessing and just can fill you with so much joy. So even though there's those hard times and those lessons that you're learning almost daily, there's also the joy that really just beats out any of the hardships and kind of makes you forget. Like you always hear like people have babies and they go through those first few months of just trying to keep the kid alive and they're always like, I can never do this again. And then once the kid's a toddler, they're like, let's
a year
get
later, they're like,
pregnant.
let's do it.
So it's because you kind of forget. You just kind of get overflowed with joy for the kid that you have, and it's an unexplainable kind of love. Sounds cheesy, but it is super true.
And there's also the fear of I have to take care of this child for every second of every single day for the rest of my, the next 18, 20 years, however long.
That's a word. Did you have anything else?
I think that the last thing that I think I've realized over the last year, amongst many things, I think that one of the ones worth noting is I thought that I had a lot of energy before I had a kid. But today I literally spent from the moment that I woke up to the moment that she went to bed entertaining her probably nonstop, which I think is just the phase that she's in right now because she hasn't always been in that phase. But man, I got really tired really quick. It only took like a solid hour and a half, I think, to be like, I want to go do something that I want to do. But, it seems like the realization that like, which obviously, going into it, but like we were saying before, like, do you really know until you're in it that you can't just go and do whatever you want? Mm-hmm. And if you do want to go do something, like she has to be there. And then realizing if she doesn't like what we're doing and decides to let you know very kindly or unkindly that she doesn't, like what we're doing, you have to go along with that. And then if that's what you were really looking forward to that day and it just doesn't work out, which is kind of going back to what we were saying before and just being flexible with open hands and saying, maybe it's not that important today. Maybe I can get it done another day and being able to navigate around that. So,
yeah. But
cool.
We love our baby.
Bebe.
Hope you enjoyed our first podcast. We had some fun, to be honest. Could have taken an hour, could have been 20 minutes.
Yeah,
it was all a blur.
We're cutting this short for sure.
But we love you guys, and maybe we'll dive into deeper topics next time.
Very deep topics.
See you later.